Hi, I'm Tom. It is August 5th, 2025, and I am 49 years and 53 days old. A lot of my life comes down to who I was able to meet and when I was able to meet them. I've been going over this the last few weeks, thinking about why I made certain choices over other ones. And in so many of those cases, the choice I was able to make, or the choice that I felt I could make, came down to someone that I had met in the not too distant past from that point. You don't want to think about this too much because then you realize, maybe too specifically, the same way you probably don't want to spend more than a year announcing your age every day. You realize too specifically how much of life comes down to happenstance. This is why, especially when I don't feel like it, especially when I don't seem to have the energy, I still put so much time into meeting people and getting to know them, or just being out. That's also a huge privilege. Not everyone has the energy to be outside and certainly doesn't have the social energy to put into other people. But because I generally do, I try and do that as much as possible, just because I've I know I don't just because I know I don't have control over exactly who I get to meet or exactly when I'll meet them, which means I just have to create a lot of possibility space. Possibility, not opportunity. A lot of possibility space, which allows those connections to happen. But a lot of it, definitely before I turned probably 25, was pure happenstance. It was because of decisions other people had made, often my parents, to have people around me or to put me in places where I would meet people. Sometimes against my will, sometimes under duress. And I'm not suggesting that that's always going to be good. There are certainly times when probably parents shouldn't push children to be places where they don't want to be. That said, I can see how much I benefited from even just the variance, even just the variety of people that I got to be around. Being around a lot of different people, or around a lot of people who come from various backgrounds, cultures, identities, at an early age, puts into your, or trains the part of you that then becomes more socially adaptable. It's like learning a language. If you have, if you hear like 6 languages when you're growing up, you can learn 6 of them. I think there's probably an upper limit, but I know that people learn 10, 12, etc. languages. And if you're around enough of them young enough, you will just learn them. It won't be a conscious effort, which sounds like a, man, imagine being able to learn things without putting in a conscious effort. But I think that's what happened to me. Because my parents were generally social people, and because they had moved from Scotland to Montreal, and because they went to a church that had a high immigrant population, and because we lived in an area that, I don't know if the immigrant population was high necessarily, but it was certainly higher than, say, other parts of Quebec or even Canada, I just got to be around a lot of people that weren't like me and didn't look like me and didn't sound like me and had different cuisines and had different thoughts in their head, different references, stuff that they enjoyed. And all of that meant that I could adapt to those people without consciously feeling like I was doing that adaptation. And I notice this especially now when I'm, in a different part of the world, and it doesn't feel unusual. I'm not surprised, or I don't, I haven't lost a sense of wonder for other places, or in even, I guess, sometimes shock, but it never feels unusual. It always feels like, oh yeah, this feels like what I'm used to now. Part of that is just having traveled a lot and been in a lot of different situations, but I do think part of that was those early opportunities and just the way that I happened to grow up. But one thing that's happening right now as well is that I have several questions about identity that I have been sort of pushing aside for however long, and now are really coming up to the forefront, which I think will require me to once again push out there and be around different types of people that I'm used to being around and learning new things, and also not having the benefit of being a kid and just letting that sort of sink in through osmosis and learning what I need to learn from it, and then just having it form into a wonderful, you know, AI, LLM style, just in the background, turn into what I need to know about gender and sexuality and ways of being around other people. And that's okay, because again, because I'm saying my age every day, I'm aware of it. And yes, that did make me feel old and was starting to get a bit, started to form a kind of psychic weight. But now feels like very interesting context for everything else that I'm experiencing, including where can I find the energy to still learn new things, especially when they're starting to feel so important, given the broad state of the world, and especially how queer people and people of queer identity are being treated.